We're back. Let me click my button. There it is. Signum Academy. That's for the start of the stream, but not for much of the stream. I'm gonna remember very shortly now to unclick it. So this is Signum Academy. I'm Wesley. We are most of the way through our discussion of EarthBound, and last time we left off having traversed the sea, battling the Kraken with a little help from the sea captain. We arrive in Scaraba, the desert kingdom, which is still watched over by the Sphinx. We have to solve a very tricky riddle involving the Sphinx, and we pass underneath the pyramids. We arrive in a different part of the desert where our old friend Dungeon Man is waiting for us. Look at us go. He follows us around for a bit, but then he gets stuck in the deep, dark foliage of the jungle. All right, that's where we'll pick up. I think everyone is properly welcomed and oriented now. I'm gonna unclick this. Okay, back to EarthBound. Audio looks good on this, so we'll pick up here in the tail end of Scaraba, hanging out with Dungeon Man. Walks around with us. He assists us in battle. Not that we need it. This person's playthrough, they are really highly leveled. I don't know how that happened. I guess they just know what they're doing. So thanks very much again to Nintendo Complete, the owner of this channel. Oh, it's time for a photo. Pause that. And people have all sorts of theories about this game. I've always wondered about Dungeon Man as another sort of insert of the creator, Itoi. You'll notice that Dungeon Man is physically carrying around a kind of castle or um, little kingdom there on top of his head. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not controlling the thing I thought I was. Just move us forward a bit here. Oh, there we go. Oh no, I'm getting caught in the palm trees. It's Dungeon Man talking. I cannot move. Well, if I cannot move, it's okay. Ness, it makes me sad, but I must say goodbye here at my eternal resting place. And just like that, Dungeon Man is no longer part of the team. So there is one more little bit of help the Dungeon Man will give us, though. On the other side of the river is the deep darkness. The monsters are very strong. You can lose your health just by wandering in the swamp. Do you want to cross the river? Even though you know it's a stupid idea? The swamp is bottomless. Even if you're swimming, you'll be dragged in. Different story if you have a submarine. Say, pretty sure I saw a submarine in Dungeon Man's old vehicle collection here. Here we go. Not just any submarine. So we have to go all the way back through Dungeon Man. Almost like having to revisit places in the game, right? If Dungeon Man is a kind of microcosm for the creator of the game. Here we go. Back to talk to Brick road. The goodbye exit. Hope to see you again. So last time, that was the exit that we took, but this time, we're going to go down this hole. And in the old vehicle collection, he wonders if his telephone line is controversial. No, it's much appreciated. We can save the game. Here we go. Taxi with no engine. A rusty bicycle. Rust is the perfect brake. A gift for Dr. Ann Donuts. It's the instant revitalizing device. The last but not least here, the broken down old submarine. The yellow color is purely coincidental. Just in case we didn't see it the first time. Our friend Jeff, of course, very skilled at fixing machines. We bring the submarine out to the river, and it will take us safely through the swamp. The yellow submarine is not a subtle reference here. If you know your Beatles music, the Yellow Submarine, one of their albums, and also a animated film, a really playful, fun inclusion there to, again, this connection between Itoi's world of advertising, that's his day job, and very well known in Japan, and then the popular culture that he is drawing on is a lot of it from European and American sources. Alright, so yet again we can save the game through a phone that is attached to a bird. The monkeys let you stay for free. That's nice. Okay. They're gonna send the Hawkeye over. That's very nice. There it is. Treat your package like it was your only child. Hawkeye, here it is. If you recall, this was the gem that we found deep in the pyramid. Well, hopefully you found it, because I have a friend who played through this whole game never using the Hawkeye and had a tough time getting through the deep darkness here. You notice that part of the screen is totally dark in the shape of trees. Yeah, about that. Right, weapons merchant. Stock up on your sudden guts pills. Those will come in handy. Oh, cool. We're going to teach the monkey how to teleport. I kind of forgot about this part. A teaching moment here. Turns out if only teaching were that easy. The monkey did it. Did you see me? Here's a small gift to thank you. The monkey's love. Summons monkeys into battle, I think. It's kind of a gimmick item. The important thing there, actually, well, it's not entirely obvious, but when you use that teleport ability, you don't have to run in just a straight line. If you saw what the monkey was doing, as it ran forward, it then turned at a 90-degree angle a series of times to build up the speed to run straight off the screen and teleport. And that's actually a, I don't know if you'd call it a trick or just an ability that you might not have realized that you have. Um, there's a higher level teleport skill that will automatically let you run in circles so that you don't have to take up as much room. but I think that this is introduced at this point in the game in case the player is feeling a little stuck here in the deep darkness and wants to get out by using teleportation. Um, the monkey there shows you how you can do that, although it takes a bit of practice. So it's kind of an interesting moment where we, as the player, are teaching the monkey, but actually we're being shown a little tutorial about something we can do with teleportation. It's not spelled out by any means. I don't think I realized that you could do that for quite a while. So this is a point in the game where a lot of stuff gets a little tricky for players. All right, let me see if there's any specific questions at this point. I've been blathering on. Is that in Twitch? Is that where I want to look? Hey, oh cool. The comment here from Rolyatov. Just heard one of my early podcasts. That's cool. And thought I might like to know that moonshining goes back to the time when the people of Devizes in Wiltshire hid barrels of brandy from customs officers by pretending they thought the reflection of the moon was a floating cheese. Fun fact. And I don't know if the moonshine idea refers to moonside or if you're talking about a totally different thing, or just throwing out some fun facts here. But I like it. I like the contribution from Rolyatov. If you want to add any more, be my guest. There is never that much live discussion of these, but I'm happy to put them out there because, like Ness, as a teacher, there we go. I'm always learning things myself. And I eventually I'm going to learn how to play this game and stream it as I play it. I'm going to get to that point. It's just a little beyond my technical ability right now. I think I've mentioned a few times that as I play this game more and more, I've gotten more and more interested in how the original language compares with the English version of the game. And little by little, I've been working on my Japanese, most recently through the Japanese space module offered through Signum University's adult education programs. So, of course, Signum Academy, we focus more on you younger people out there, but if you're a parent or guardian who's listening in, you might check out space for your own edification. Great idea um, to pick up a new language or just learn a little bit more about some topic that you're already interested in. So here's another example of this. I came from one of the world's large economic powers to this small village. I'm a tough businessman. Excuse me. So he's going to sell you some stuff, but you notice the way this was laid out is a little different than most merchants. Like we've seen the weapons merchant before. We've seen the idea at least of a inn, although this one was run by monkeys. This guy says he's a merchant from a economic power. Okay. And here's the doctor who he represents. I think the idea that we are being gradually throughout the game, right? We start in a place called Eagle Land, which is pretty transparently a town in the United States of circa 1995 when this game comes out, maybe a little earlier, right? Everyone's still using payphones. This is ancient history for any kids out there, but as we progress through the game, we go further and further from that home of Ness through towns that are kind of similar, but with maybe some weird twists. And then eventually we go through the desert, come to a huge big city, and that's really the last part of the continental US, we'll say, right? Like the United States represented there as the big Apple or whatever, the New York that is Foreside. and the strangeness that is Moonside is just a taste of what's to come as we go to more and more exotic locations. So a France or Mediterranean place like Summers, a land like Winters, where our friend Jeff is from, is kind of a maybe a UK. And then here another desert, which is Arabian or possibly African because the Egyptian pyramid is there. And now we're in a place that is further away even than that. It's a deep darkness. It might refer to a place like the Congo, um, of the Heart of Darkness of Joseph Conrad. It definitely refers to the way that the Beatles themselves become a global phenomenon. And on the heels of popular culture, of course, we also have economic power. That is the power to buy and sell, that is interested in making money off of whatever opportunities there might be. Japan, of course, experienced this firsthand. If you know a little um, modern history, that country for a long time was closed and pushed out any outside um, merchants or missionaries, with very few exceptions. At a certain point, it becomes opened up to new ideas from outside, from the West, industrializes, becomes a world power in its own right. And then, of course, Japan, by the time this game is being developed, is a generation or two removed from a very tragic period in which it is trying to be expansive itself and take over its neighbors in World War II. And the result of this ends up being, again, assistance, if you want to call it that, or possibly just foreign greed running rampant in the country. This is not unique to Japan by any means. Uh, there are people trying to make money every place that they go in the quote unquote real world, we could call it the primary world of our existence here, using Tolkien's phrase. The point is, we are seeing this represented here in Earthbound now. Not only our characters are traveling to distant lands, but foreign powers are sending their merchants to try to make money here. And this is connected with this idea of the deep darkness. What is physically distinctive about this place? As we're told, you can fall into the swamp and lose health just by being present there. And it is so dark that we can't see what's going on. We can't see through the treetops into the uh, surroundings of the jungle itself. Once we move beyond this initial area, everything below us is in the darkness here. It's pretty creepy, don't you think? The monkey says. If you don't have the Hawkeye here, you're helpless. But we do have it. We also have the magic truffle. Sniffer, the pig nose. So a lot of good hints here. A pig's nose would be enough to find great truffles by scent alone. I think someone else will tell you the hint that they grow at the bottom of the trees. This player really wants to find a truffle. It must be a little further right. Hey, there's a magic truffle at your feet. Paula got the magic truffle. Those are really handy, and they're actually not randomly deposited. You can look up online if you want where exactly they are. So here we go. Walking through the swamp. It slows you down. And are we going to use it? Oh, the piggy nose. Okay, gosh. I want them to use the Hawkeye. But they're just searching for truffles. Oh, they have no room for a truffle. Better make room. I'd get rid of the rain pendant. Are you crazy? Well, okay. But a magic truffle restores a lot of PP, so maybe it's worth it. All right, let's skip ahead a bit. Here we go. Now we're making our way into the darkness. That item there mostly is there, I think, to show you that you can continue walking into the darkness if you choose. I'm a cash dispenser man. If you want to withdraw cash, you get a handling fee. So be really careful here withdrawing much money. And there's the Hawkeye. So you notice, with a sound very much like the magic butterflies, restoring your psychic energy by making you relax, using the Hawkeye here immediately dispels the darkness that had covered everything in this area. So it makes life a lot easier. It is possible to continue the game without it, but why would you? I mean, if you could see what's happening, you'd want to, I think. All right. Oh, okay. Rolytop says it was discussed in an episode from several years ago whether moonshine was an American world. It might not be relevant now, but I just had to let you know. Wow, so a really uh, years later footnote to another episode. Cool, cool. Was it in the context of EarthBound, or was it about some other game? The moonshine. Moonshine. I think that's always relevant to know a little bit more about moonshine. And they thought the reflection of the moon was a floating cheese. There's got to be some deeper meaning there if we wanted to dig into that some more. Thanks again, Rolyatov. And we are progressing slowly through the deep darkness. I dwell on it because, um, going back to Tolkien again, this idea of light and dark is one of the central themes that you can see being played out in many different ways throughout Tolkien's work. I don't know that there's a jungle with a swamp in it per se. I could be forgetting something. But since we're mostly in Middle Earth, the parts of it that we go through are more like dark and murky forests, the Mirkwood, right? Um, where similarly we have discussion of how difficult it is to see, how we're prone to getting lost. Um, and there's that lovely part in The Hobbit when they send Bilbo uh, out to scout around and he climbs the tree and he can see out, but only so far because even above the treetops, as he looks, he's a bit tricked by the landscape into thinking that they're nowhere near the end when in fact, if they just keep going, they will make it out of the forest. And he sees that butterfly, right? Um, the butterflies that are so dark that you can hardly see them down below the trees are actually quite beautiful up above the treetops. That moment always stuck with me. I always loved that. And I think maybe it's a stretch, but you could see something like that going on whenever Ness and his friends encounter one of the magic butterflies, right? It makes them relax. Here we use ancient wisdom of the Hawkeye, recovered from the pyramids, brought out into the light, and then in the darkness it shines forth and makes it possible to see. I think that's a really easy way to read into what's going on here, right? Speaking of what's relevant, what's not. I think if you care about imagery of light and darkness in your fantasy adventures, this is a lovely example of what it means to dispel the darkness by using, again, that wisdom from the past. Um, I don't know what exactly it means to use the Hawkeye, what that really looks like if you sort of hold it up to your eye and look around with it, or if you simply hold it up in a dark place, a little bit like the light of Galadriel, right, towards the end of The Lord of the Rings, um, that it shines forth. Whatever the case might be, um, something pretty deep going on here, and I don't mean just the marsh that we're deep underwater in right now. So let's skip ahead a little bit. I did want to show that um, we make our way slowly through the swamp. And eventually Pooh rejoins the party. Our friend comes back with a new ability, the Starstorm attack. So welcome back, Pooh. And it looks like we fight some old friends, these manly fish. They're pretty scary. Um, I think that Pooh, upon his return, helps make short work of an old friend, Master Belch, who returns as Master Barf. Again, this kind of gross out thing that the English translation's all about. Pretty underwhelming battle, that is, against Belch one more time. And here we are at last. Tenda Village. We're shy. So, just a little bit of their theme music has those wind chimes, that kind of panpipe, and just a very innocent, carefree, maybe reminds you a little bit of the Mr. Saturns and the Saturn Valley. The Tendas similarly seem to represent a kind of innocence. They are distant from every other people on Earth, on the other side of the deep darkness here. They seem to either be or at least be covered in a kind of green fuzzy sweater. We're being told to take a break again, but we're ignoring them. All right, doing a little item management here. And none of them will talk to us. The Tendas are all shy. Oh, but here's an important hint. We're all shy. Rumor, I heard a book to fix shyness there is. Where? Don't know. Just a rumor. All right, there's a hot spring, much like Saturn Valley. And here is the strong Tenda over by the rock. We'll have to talk to him later. So we can't really proceed yet. Apple Kid calls, working on an eraser machine, when suddenly... What are you doing to me? Who are you? And then immediately get called back by Orange Kid. Orange Kid's working on changing boiled eggs into raw eggs. The book Overcoming Shyness. So Orange Kid wants it. He's working on ascensions. So the upshot of all this is basically to indicate what we need to do next. Go to Winters. Well, gonna need a little more room to get some speed here. Come on now. But we're gonna teleport back to Winters. There we go. That was lovely. And we need to rescue Apple Kid, who has been kidnapped from Dr. Andonut's lab. It's a little bit convoluted here, but the gist seems to be that we need a book to help the Tendas overcome their shyness so that we can proceed. The person who has the book has just been kidnapped, so we're going to go rescue him. This takes us back through Winters, in case we had not been there yet. We arrive here with the monkey, the chewing gum monkey's wife. He's playing, they're missing Tony. All right, so there's some much stronger enemies here. We're gonna zip ahead a little bit. There's the chewing gum monkey. And this allows us to float along with Tessie. Very beautiful. All right, so we're gonna float along down. Goodbye, Bubble Monkey. Goodbye, Tessie. So in case you hadn't been back yet, this is your chance to go through one of the sanctuary spots that has been available for quite a while, ever since we could teleport back to Winters. I believe this player already went back here and did this, but we'll see. Yep. Just getting some experience. Instead of doing that, though, what the game actually requires us to do is proceed through into Stonehenge. So he's got an eraser machine. The mouse couldn't protect his master, but it does give you the new invention, the eraser. And we're going to use it down in Stonehenge. There's a hole. We could go down this far before. We could never proceed because there's this strange statue in the way. But now we've got a device that will eliminate it, the eraser. All right. So, once more, very powerful enemies here. If you're playing this game on your own for the first time, you may want to spend a bit of time just leveling up before you proceed much further into Stonehenge. If you're like this player, you are going to be totally fine, of course. So there isn't a whole lot to say about Stonehenge other than that warning. We're going to skip ahead quite a bit now if there's no questions about the Tenda Village. All right. So onward to, well, of course, it bears mentioning that there's a certain item here. This enemy, the golden Starman Super, I believe, is the one who occasionally, very, very rarely, will drop a Sword of Kings, the only weapon that Pooh can equip. But as I say, if you're at a high enough level to fight enough battles for that to happen, reasonably speaking, with the odds against it at 1 in 250 or something like that, I could be getting the number wrong. But it's a very, very slim chance. So if you find it, great. I wouldn't spend a lot of time, though, beyond just leveling up here. I think there isn't much point unless you're a real completionist. So eventually we're going to progress through to another part of the underground base. And I gotta say, this really feels like it could be the end of the game or something. It's so, ominous looking. Has that vibe of a serious challenge with the eerie lighting and the industrial, technological oppressiveness of everything here. Our friends have been kidnapped, and that is in both the original EarthBound Zero or Mother and its sequel, Mother 3. That moment when you go and rescue the kidnapped. Oh, we got a Sword of Kings. Are you kidding me? Must have done something to mess with the random number generator here, or maybe just a very dedicated player got real lucky. All right, so the Sword of Kings. Good for you. Didn't know that was going to happen. Love it. But in each of the other games, when you go to rescue the kidnapped family members and friends, that's the final dungeon. That's the end of the game. So there's a little bit of a misdirection here where this is actually all just because we're trying to get a book back from one of the kidnapped people. I mean, we're trying to save all the kidnapped people, of course. But in fact, the main thing we need is that book. A book about how to overcome shyness. Again, wouldn't it be lovely if that was something you could learn just by reading a book? Because shy people generally do like reading. So in my experience, though, it's really something you learn by doing. So yet another section of the dungeon. We can use the mouse to escape if we need to. This player really does not need to. Just trouncing enemies here, just gaining levels. Finding rare and powerful items. And here we go. KO can breathe. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Oh no! Oh no, can't see anything. Jeff. Where is Jeff? That's, of course, Tony. So they're really suffering here. And there's Apple Kid himself, a Mr. T Sprite, Dr. Andonuts is up there, Jeff's father. Here's our boss battle. Prepare yourself. Better heal up so nobody gets taken out too quickly. And just a quick note about this interaction with the Starman Deluxe. As soon as we're done healing. I mean, what an over-leveled party, my goodness. Gotta say, they've got some serious stats going into this fight. You're much stronger than our intelligence indicator. We're not prepared for that eventuality. The prophecy from the click Apple of Enlightenment may be true. I don't even know at this point whether it's worth going on a tangent about the Apple of Enlightenment. It's something that's thrown out a few times. It's really kind of a MacGuffin in the game. But if you do want to go down that rabbit hole, which I am all for, we can probably talk about it as we get towards the end of the game. It's coming back here. Again, this idea of wisdom from ancient times. We saw it with the hawk eye, and here with the Apple of Enlightenment. It's a kind of device that tells the truth, the prophecy. And sure enough, by following up on that prophecy from the Apple of Enlightenment, we've actually become much stronger. Our player, our player characters are set on their journey by the message from the future. They are pursued by the enemy because the enemy wants to destroy them, because he's afraid of them because of this prophecy. It's all sort of nestled together and wrapped up together the way in which the future affects the past here. Because it's by fighting against the enemy that our characters have become so strong. The Apple of Enlightenment may or may not be a reference to the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and or the idea of enlightenment in other religious traditions. But in any case, you'll notice that these little clicks and whirs are put into the text here. In Japanese, that is sort of conveyed by the use of a totally different system of alphabet, essentially, or syllables, which is katakana. So it is used in cases where a robotic voice is being represented, or that's one of the uses of katakana in place of the normal or usual Japanese script of hiragana. It's also used for foreign words. And so throughout the game, anytime a word like hamburger appears in Japanese, that's rendered with katakana hamburger or something like that. It's a fun connection because we have the word in English alien, which can mean from another world, right? In this case, a robotic being. But it can also mean a foreigner, and that's a bit of an older meaning for that word, nowadays considered kind of rude to be used in that sense, but the same kind of connection of ideas is there, where what is foreign is strange, is alien, is represented with this totally other system of writing. Um, and of course, this is all just a lot of setup for what ends up being a pretty cool boss battle here against the Starman Deluxe. You must not underestimate us. One of the great lines in the game. The Starman Deluxe attacked. And if we go all out with our shields, if we remember Buzz Buzz in that first battle against the Starman Jr., he set up that psychic shield to protect from psychic attacks. Probably a wise thing to do here. So we've got the psychic shield. We're going to fire a multi-bottle rocket, deal immense damage to the Starman Deluxe, beat him in one hit. That's kind of cheating. That's how I usually fight this battle too, but I'm telling you, if you want a little bit more of a challenge, you gotta not use that multi-bottle rocket. That's just not even fair. So a unique sound effect in the game. The Stonehenge base ceased functioning, meaning that you can never go back and fight those enemies again. They're gone. Everyone's rescued. If I courageously just sat here and waited long enough, I'd be saved. Oh, man. So we saved the Tessie Watcher. We saved the Mr. Saturn. And I think he's got a present for us. Yes, a Mr. Saturn ribbon. Oh, so awesome. And here's the Apple Kid. Oh, we're talking to him again. Okay, I thought it was a good opportunity to meet Mr. Saturn. I also got to meet Dr. Donuts. See you. What? You're looking for the book Overcoming Shyness? I returned it to the Onet Library. Please use the book to help the shy Tenda tribe. Anyway, because I knew you, I had an incredible experience. Wow. I was kidnapped by some of Gigas's toadies. Since our imprisonment is now over, I want to start on the phase distorter. Oh, I almost forgot to thank you. Thank you. Don't worry about us, you got important things to do. So again, this is another example. I was kidnapped while milking a cow on my farm. The enemy's own attempts to foil our hero's journey, of course, bring together exactly the characters, the Mr. Saturn, the Apple Kid, the Dr. Donuts, who are going to have the ability to create a device called the phase distorter. More on this next time. But it's critical that they unite at this moment here. And they do so because the enemy kidnapped all of them. Kidnapping little old me. Jeff, buddy, oh me, oh my, you came to rescue me, pal. Oh, Ness, I'm Tony. I'm Jeff's best friend. I've known him for the longest time. So there we go. Just a little hint again at Tony's true feelings, which by all accounts appear to be romantic towards Jeff and not mere friendship. But that aside, which we could also read into Tolkien, as some people like to, um, or into a lot of the great epic stories for that matter, the Iliad or the Odyssey, we can find people who uh, show great friendship and great love, and maybe some of that shades over into a kind of romantic love. Um, in this case, I think it's worth just dwelling on the ways that the enemy's own devices, that is, its strategies, the enemy's plans, end up being the enemy's undoing, right? They lead to the enemy's downfall here. Um, Certainly a theme that we can also pick up in Tolkien. That's about as far as we're going to go for this time. I think we might be able to just about finish off the game next time. We've got a couple really interesting locations, the Lost Underworld, Magicant, and of course the end game, finding Gigas on his home turf. Um, but I've kept y'all long enough and plenty long to discuss, I think, a lot of fun things this time. So thank you again for joining. I'm hoping that everything worked okay. Yep, and we'll see you next time. Take care.